Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how this 2024 Senate race from Pennsylvania have locked Democrats out of power for the 2026 midterms and future Senate elections as well. But before we get started, make sure you guys are subscribed, click the bell so you don't miss out my content, press like button, and don't forget we do have memberships, so you can find a link to that in the description section if you are interested. So the 2024 Senate race of Pennsylvania, which was a surprise to me. I did not expect Bob Casey to lose to David McCormick. Actually, my final prediction had Casey up by 2 percentage points, which is actually one of the few Senate races that I got wrong, if not the only one. And David McCormick won by approximately 15,000 votes, a margin of exactly 0.2%, as you can see right here. And this really is going to haunt Democrats for a lot of years to come, especially the 2026 midterms, because the map is less favorable for Democrats. I know in 2024 I said the Senate map for Democrats was actually not favorable at all, but guess what? It actually gets worse in 2026. It's going to get even worse. The Senate map would really be almost impossible for Democrats to take back control. So it looks like as long as as far as the future goes, Republicans will remain in power for the Senate. Now, this is the Senate specifically. We're not talking about the general election or the, House of Representatives or whatever. But for the Senate specifically, Democrats will not win for a very long time, and Chuck Schumer will most likely be the minority leader for years, many years to come, including 2026, because the map is more favorable for the Republicans, just how it was in 2024, and you can argue 2022 as well. But Republicans did sell the bag, which they did not in 2024, so that was, good for their part. But as you can see here, the map is literally favoring Republicans. It's literally built for them to win in 2026 and potentially beyond that as well. So I'm going to be showing you how the Pennsylvania Senate race from 2024, in which resulted David McCormick, winning in the upset, is going to lock Democrats out of power. They were 15,000 votes short of avoiding a huge setback for the Senate, but Bob Casey obviously failed to help Democrats in future Senate elections. And this is exactly why. Because Democrats can basically win every single swing Senate race in the 2026 Senate midterms, including Alaska. Democrats can go as far as getting Alaska, and they still won't win. That will literally not be enough to win the 2026 Senate elections. Let me show you how. So Democrats can still win North Carolina. That's going to be a swing Senate race. Let's just say they win that. Let's just say they win Georgia. I believe it's going to be John Ossoff, who won last time back in the 2020 election, in the special elections, I believe. Georgia's actually shifting towards the left. In my opinion, this state's actually more favorable for Democrats in the future. I do expect Georgia to flip blue in the presidential election. Maybe in 2028. I think this is one of the more brighter spots for Kamala Harris in 2024. I know basically the entire nation shifted towards the right in favor of Trump, but I do think Georgia and North Carolina are one of the fewer states where Kamala did have some bright spots, and Democrats in general for the future. So maybe I do think Georgia can go blue for the Senate. Let's just say it does do exactly that, unless Brian Kemp decides to run for Senate. He is a strong candidate, obviously. He's won governor a few times, defeating Stacey Abrams, so maybe Georgia will go red. But let's just say Democrats do get Georgia. And in my opinion, the real swing states for the 2026 Senate race comes down to basically 3 states. Those are literally Michigan, North Carolina, Georgia, and Maine. Actually, 4 states. So Maine, Michigan, North Carolina, and Georgia are the only true 4 swing Senate races in 2026, the midterms. Any other state is going to comfortably either go to one side. Ohio is probably likely Republican. This state is simply just gone too far to the right for any Democrat to overcome, no matter how strong the candidate is. I mean, someone like Tim Ryan back in 2022 was seen as a strong Democratic candidate on the ticket, but guess what? He ended up losing. And then Texas, obviously, likely Republican, not going to be close at all. You can argue Florida is now solid red, as it was in the 2024 election. Rick Scott won by over 10 percentage points, cracking double digits. And then let's just say if Democrats get super lucky, which is probably not going to happen, Mary Patola does run for the Senate instead of the governor's race, which she recently just lost in the House of Representatives. which was basically the only House race that I got incorrectly, was that one. I thought Mary Petola would win. Guess what? She lost by about 4 percentage points, a lean margin. Let's just say somehow, which is probably not the most likely scenario, Mary Petola runs for Senate and she wins because she's kind of, you can say, a popular Democrat in Alaska. Then they get the Senate race in Alaska for the Democrats. But if she does win, she's only going to win by a tilt margin of probably within 1 percentage point, in my opinion. So it's going to be extremely close. Not going to be a very great margin at all. And then let's just say Democrats hold on to Michigan. I mean, whoever they run as a candidate, in my opinion, Michigan's Republican Party is just an utter disaster, and Donald Trump is the only person to save them, and I don't think he's going to in 2026. So let's just say that leans towards the Democrats. And Donald Trump is the only Republican that I can name that is good in the Rust Belt. I mean, any other Republican just cannot win whatsoever in the Rust Belt, other than the exception for David McCormick, which is what this video is basically all about. So David McCormick is the reason why Democrats are locked out of power and their hopes are basically gone for the Senate elections in 2026 and potentially beyond as well, because the map is so favorable towards Republicans. Let's just say New Hampshire goes to the Democrats. Obviously, Maggie Hassan was the last person to win for the Democrats. Actually, that was the most recent race in, I believe, the 2022 midterms. Maggie Hassan did win by a comfortable margin. So let's just say New Hampshire is likely for Democrats. I also do believe that New Hampshire was a bright spot for Kamala Harris, because when you had with Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, even Nevada all shift vastly towards the right, New Hampshire really actually stayed blue for her. She actually did pretty well. I believe she won by almost 3 percentage points. So I do think New Hampshire, futuristic-wise, is a very left-leaning blue state. I don't think any Republican can win it because, in my opinion, Donald Trump is the strongest candidate that the Republicans can run. And if it's going to be any other weaker candidate than Donald Trump, obviously, then I don't think New Hampshire is going to be really in play. I see it as a likely Democratic state for the 2028 election. And then Maine, obviously, you have Susan Collins, I believe that's her name. In the last video I didn't mention that because I totally forgot about Susan Collins, but time and time again polls suggest that she's going to lose and the Democrat will defeat her, and it's always wrong, overestimating Democratic support. But let's just say Democrats finally get the job done and they do defeat Susan Collins once and for all. Okay, they'll win that by a lean margin. So that's 50 seats. And keep in mind that Alaska's blue in this scenario. So if Democrats basically have everything going in their direction, they still will not win the Senate in 2026. Even if they get 50 seats, they're not going to win, obviously, because J.D. Vance is a tiebreaker. You have a Republican majority in the White House as well. So if Democrats go as far as getting Alaska on their side in the 2026 midterms, they will still not win it because of Pennsylvania. If Bob Casey had just won, Pennsylvania in 2024, defeating David McCormick just by a small amount, then Democrats would have, I would say, a slightly better chance at winning the Senate, even though they would still not in 2026 because they get Alaska. But because Pennsylvania went to David McCormick, the Republican, he basically did Republicans a very good job at, locking Democrats out of power. Because Democrats can do so well winning all the swing Senate races in 2026, including Michigan, Georgia, North Carolina, and Maine, including flipping a Republican state, Alaska, and they will still fall short at 50 seats because of Pennsylvania. So basically, the whole entire video, the point of this video, is that because David McCormick won, and by the way, it could have gone worse for Democrats. They're actually pretty lucky. They actually almost lost Michigan. Wisconsin was in jeopardy. Tim Baldwin barely won. Alyssa Slotkin's race was even much closer than that. So even though Democrats are locked out of power because David McCormick won, it actually could have gone even way worse for them, even further to the right, if Michigan and Wisconsin had gone right, which it almost did as well. But because of Pennsylvania went to David McCormick in the 2024 Senate race, that is the reason why Democrats are basically locked out of power, and it is impossible for them to, win control of the Senate in the 2026 midterms and basically beyond that as well. They can literally win every single important battleground Senate race in the 2026 midterms, Georgia, North Carolina, Michigan, Maine, and even flip a red state like Alaska, and they would still fall short at 50 seats. By the way, this is their best case scenario. They're probably going to get 47. It's probably going to be a repeat of 2024. for the 2026 Senate midterms because of Pennsylvania. So Republicans should thank David McCormick because he locked Democrats out of power, and this is exactly why. So one last final reminder to subscribe, click the bell so you don't miss all my content, press the like button. So that's pretty much it. Thank you everyone for watching.